to be making a point of finding things that are out of the major news cycle, things that we should be hearing about. I mean, the big one in his first episode was the Indian elections, arguably the largest election in the world that's just not being covered. So I think he's found a spot that is unique to him.
Okay.
Colin?
Yeah. So I think I'm going to be the odd voice out here. So I came to this, I think not totally dissimilar to the two of you, with this one question on, do we really need another one of these shows, another Daily Show, another Colbert Report? And I came in believing that the answer was no, and we've got 3 episodes now, and I'm pleased to say that I can trust my gut. My gut was right. We do not need another one of these shows. So let me quickly acknowledge all of the good stuff about last week tonight. It's occasionally funny. It's occasionally very funny, which is not an emphasis I would use from some of those other programs. I think they have kind of a consistent level of funny, but this is one of the few times I've actually kind of busted a gut laughing. It's really well produced. It's nice to look at, and it, I think, slowly is really taking advantage of its position on HBO, being able to curse more, the kinds of things that it can show you, which I'm sure we'll talk about in a little bit. But that said, and that all sounds like great stuff, I have some big concerns. The first is that this has really no editorial voice, no distinct editorial voice anyway. This is Jon Stewart's Daily Show transposed to HBO. It's the Daily Show with money. The format's the same. The commentary, I could hear Jon Stewart saying these things if he was given a format like HBO to do it. It really seems like it's uncomfortable taking risks or moving away from the format that the Daily Show popularized. They even build in these kind of fake artificial commercial breaks just because they don't know how to transition topics, it looks like. And so whether or not they're funny, I think it's irrelevant. He just doesn't really know what to do outside of that format. And then finally, I really want to thank John Oliver for answering a question that I've had for a long time. And I used to watch the Daily Show, and I would think, you know what, wouldn't it be great if this was an hour long? No. No, it fucking wouldn't. It would be awful if the Daily Show was an hour long. This is 30 minutes, more than the 22 or whatever that Jon Stewart has. And at a full 30 minutes long, it feels too long. The content's not diverse. It lacks a lot of the reporter in the field content that you get on the Daily Show or you get on the Colbert Report. It doesn't have the interview segment that you have on those shows. And so really the content's not diverse, and this commits the cardinal sin of being boring occasionally. I just want to wrap it up. Wrap it up, Oliver. And I can't, so maybe it'll be better. Maybe he'll find his voice. Maybe maybe he's taking time to figure out the format, but I can't review the show that it might be. I can only review the show that it is, and that's what I feel about it right now. And so to move into conversation, I'm going to ask each of you, do you think that there is space in that kind of late-night landscape for this program?
I mean, I think I kind of mentioned it in my overall review too, but I think he has kind of carved out a unique niche for himself. And as you said, it's very early on in the show, but he seems to be evolving quickly and finding his spot and finding it very well.
You know, I think that what there is space for is, like, a conservative version of the Jon Stewart show. I feel like it would be hilarious if some, like, super right-wing Republican, though, was, like, actually trying deliberately to be funny rather than just being ridiculous, to, like, make fun of, like, a lot of neoliberals. Like, I think that would actually be hilarious. So we should contact, well, maybe not Ann Coulter, because that would be horrific. But, like,
that would be amazing.
Somebody
doesn't come out and say it, like, but I think that might be what Bill O'Reilly is actually doing.
Like currently on the O'Reilly Factor?
Yes, I think he actually may be satirizing.
Satirize?
Word himself.
He's satirizing all of us.
I think he might be.
Yeah.
But
probably right.
Steve, I want to push. What do you think that this does that carves out a niche? I didn't feel a niche at all. I think that
I think more than anything, it is the the more international perspective.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel so isolationist. It doesn't feel like, okay, we're going to talk about the things that everyone else is talking about. It's more of, we're going to talk about the things that you're not hearing, that the rest of the world does care about, but nobody here seems to.
I would agree with that if I felt like he did it more. I mean, you've got the Eurovision bit, and then
The Indian election.
The Indian election was, I think, a really big one that I had heard nothing about, and I keep up with the news cycle.
I guess I actually had heard about the Indian election, but not in kind of this format. So I guess in that sense it's true, but I didn't feel. But that's like 2 bits. So I mean, I guess that's 10 minutes out of the 4.
It's only had 3 episodes. Give the guy a break.
Right, but that's my point. You come in and you want to make a distinction. You don't, it's not like you create a show and then you wait till you're fucking 10 episodes in to start regularly bringing up your defining characteristics. You launch with that shit.
Yeah.
I think that's what he's doing, though. He may not have come out and said, I'm going to be the international guy here. But I think that's what he's doing.
Yeah, it seems I thought it really established itself as pretty balanced. Because, like, I love Jon Stewart, but Jon Stewart, I think, goes, like, real hard on, like, hitting against conservatives and kind of, like, making it, just, like, it's, like, kind of a bitch fest sometimes. And I feel like the John Oliver show definitely established itself as trying to just, like, ride the middle a little bit more. That doesn't sound weird.
I think in some ways it actually feels more constructive than most satirical shows, too. It feels like he wants to actually affect some positive change and not just use what's going on as comedic fodder.
Well, I mean, if the argument is that might be his defining characteristic, I think that ground is very much covered by Colbert and Jon Stewart. I mean, it's a privilege they had given the success of their show, but was a few years ago they had that rally to restore sanity. I mean, and whether or not it was successful or did what it accomplished, I think that's what they wanted to do, though. I think
Jon Stewart is like pandering to like young liberals that just want to make fun of conservatives, though, like a lot of the time.
Yeah, I do wonder how much they're reaching people that aren't already there.
Yeah.
I don't know if John Oliver is going to get that. I'm certainly not saying that because I think this may still suffer from that, but I think he's got a better shot from what I've seen so far.
Why don't we let that transition into our next topic, and this is his privileged space on HBO. So being on HBO gives you the opportunity to do a lot that you can't do on regular cable or broadcast television. And so what I'm hearing is that he may appeal to a broader audience. And since I'm surprised none of us have talked about it yet, and I'd really like to, let's talk about his 3rd episode.
Yeah.
I don't know what you're referring to.
Do we have an image of that dick that we can throw up? Because I think that would be great.
I don't know if I checked the appropriate boxes when we launched this call. I think I have to check like the 18 or older box.
Maybe we can get like a little link in there.
Maybe we'll put it in the show notes that we'll put up after we're done.
I mean, we're on the internet. That shit's a free-for-all, too. We should equally make use of our opportunity to curse and show pictures of people's genitals.
Okay, I'm a little scared, but I'm currently Googling John Oliver dick pic. And I'm going to see if I can get something to maybe...
and let's be clear,
for those of you that
haven't seen it, not only is it a dick pic, it's an old man dick pic, and you see it a lot of times.
It is quite close and quite uncomfortable. And it's, I think, well used.
Yeah. Definitely it has purpose within the structure of the narrative of that episode.
Okay, well, Elizabeth, why don't you talk us through what's the structure that supports the dick pic?
Yeah, wait. This is going to make me look bad, but remind me what bit that was?
It was the mock political ads for the Kentucky
right.
congressional race.
Okay, so for the people who may have not watched the episode, why don't you talk us through what that bit is?
So basically, he is looking at the race, I don't recall if it's House or Senate, for Kentucky,
Senate.
And Senate race. And it's Mitch McConnell versus, I remember the last name is Lundergan Grimes. I don't remember. Allison Lundergan Grimes. And the two of them are basically running these political attack ads. So John Oliver basically proposes, you know what? I think the only way we can actually get better is just to hit rock bottom.
Oh, well.
So he offers up his own political ads that should be the equivalent of rock bottom. And one of Allison Lundergan Grimes' attack ad on Mitch McConnell is basically, he's an old dick.
Oh, right, an old white dick.
Yes.
We're sick of these old white dicks telling us what to do.
Yes.
Look at this old white dick that's being shoved in your face. Also, once again, John Oliver being balanced, he did a fake ridiculous attack ad for both candidates. Wow. Yes. The neutrality amazes me.
Okay, so I don't know that speaks to an audience much beyond Jon Stewart's pandering to 20-somethings. So I would love to hear how either of you that reaches out to a broader audience.
Yeah.
I mean, do you think that you can speak to a broader audience and have that kind of content and take advantage of it?
Do you think that only 20-year-olds are able to appreciate dick humor?
I think they're more inclined to appreciate dick humor.
I think you're underestimating the audience.
I think I'm overestimating the rest of America.
Well,
never do that. Never do that.
He also said fuck quite a few times, which is great.
He did. And in the first episode, it was such a little thing, but at one point he shows an ad of Pop-Tarts proclaiming to be, you know, oh, they're made with real fruit. And he just stops and says, fuck you. And there was just something very comedic about that to me. The simple ability to just flat out say, fuck you to Pop-Tarts.
So that's something that Jon Stewart does that, though, right? I mean, you get the
but
bleep.
It's bleeped.
You get the bleep, but I mean, he does it, and in the vein of Alfred Hitchcock, right? Isn't it funnier what's not shown, what's not said than
false?
Well, I actually think bleeping can be quite effectively funny. I agree with you on that. But also, I find hearing "fuck that shit" also funny. So I think there's room for both.
And I think what really makes it that much better is it being said with a British accent. I think that certainly adds something to the fuck you.
Well, he's certainly, and rightfully so. There is a sense he carries his British identity with him in a way that I don't think Jon Stewart really does about any of his identities. He'll occasionally reference being Jewish.
I was going to say, are you saying that Jon Stewart isn't Jewish enough for you?
That's exactly what I'm saying. I think he could be significantly Jewier.
He wears the beard and the curls.
Right, he could be a Hasidic Jew.
Yeah. Also, I'm pretty sure he changed his name.
He did. Yeah, he did change his name. And Colbert obviously has his own character, so there's none of that coming out of him. So I will grant that
he does refer to his Catholicism a lot, and that shit is real. That's real life affair.
He does. I think if you're looking for a more authentic host, I think John Oliver might be that. There's a sense of identity coming from him that I don't think you're getting from the other two. But do you think other than cursing and dick pics, did HBO add much for you?
Not yet.
You mentioned production value, Colin. It did look very shiny and nice.
Yeah, it very much is that. I liked the scrolling text that they just kept in the left-hand corner, the left side of the screen when they were putting up their little graphics next to John Oliver's. Just little touches like that.
Yeah.
I really need to pay more attention because I didn't even notice this.
Just looked like money being spent.
I like the background, which once again obviously reinforces the international perspective, which was like a composite of like cities all over the world behind him.
Oh yeah, I saw that. You had the Empire State Building, you had the pyramid. I don't know why I'm doing the YMCA as I'm referencing the things. Go ahead, Steve. Did you were saying something?
Yeah, I think that he is. I think this does go to what you were saying about him coming from The Daily Show and being in that mindset, but he seems to be kind of slowly embracing the HBO lack of censorship. You know, initially he's like, oh, I can swear a little. And then as he got a little further, he's like, wait a minute. I can show old man's dicks for long periods of time. And I think he's just coming to that realization that he can fully utilize this, and it is an evolution that I think we're actually seeing happening live.
So
I have a quick question. As somebody who has never seen the Bill Maher show, isn't that on HBO? And does he show dicks?
Real Time does not show dicks, or not that I've ever seen.
Yeah, so I don't think Bill Maher's shown any dick pics. But that's what I wanted to get to now is that. So he at one point, I think it's in his second episode, he's moving into this topic of the death penalty.
Mm-hmm.
He creates an intentional space to pause. It's like, oh my god, a comedy show is going to talk about the death penalty. And he comes back to this notion a couple times that it's a big deal that they're addressing the death penalty. And it kind of fucking annoyed me with that.
Yeah, I didn't like that either.
It was.
Yeah, I agree with that.
It seems like, one, Jon Stewart or Colbert, I haven't gone through the archives, but I would be shocked if I couldn't find a bit on the death penalty somewhere in one of those programs. And the second thing is this idea of treading lightly on taboo topics and, oh, we're on HBO, so we're just going to blow past this shit. That's been covered by Bill Maher fucking decades ago when he got kicked off of ABC after decades. 10 years ago when he got kicked off of ABC
1 decade.
For saying something about the terrorists on 9/11, that they weren't cowards or something to that effect. So he's got the actual credentials of someone who has addressed a taboo topic, and he's using HBO for that purpose, right? He can talk about whatever the fuck he wants to, and he doesn't need to slam dick pics in your face to take advantage of the format.
And I do think they have a different audience. I think the dick pics do hit the 20-somethings a little harder. And I think Bill Maher he's a little bit more the, I don't want to say conservative, because he's not.
No.
But he takes it a little bit more seriously.
Yeah, Bill Maher's so fucking self-righteous, I feel like. Ugh.
Oh, yeah, Bill Maher is super self-righteous. If we're talking about tone, I'm not saying he should take on Bill Maher's tone, but what I'm saying is what Bill Maher has done, though, is he's used HBO in a way that's smart.
Yeah.
He gives himself the space to use. He can bring on anyone he wants to talk about whatever the fuck he wants to.
Without apologizing for it.
Yeah, without apologizing for it. And that's what annoyed me about...
No, that annoyed me, too. The idea that we couldn't like callously make jokes about the death penalty, I feel like that's silly, and they went way overboard on that. Like, I'm ready to talk about the death penalty in a hilarious fashion. I don't need to watch a dumb hamster video. What was that hamster video?
Yeah, okay, so for those of you who haven't seen it, he makes a promise at the beginning of the bit. He says, oh, we're going to talk about the death penalty. This is really stressful. Even the president can't do it. So to reward you, I'm going to give you a YouTube video of a hamster eating small burritos. And that honestly felt like they ran out of shit to fill their show with, to me. Like, they had to circle back to this hamster video. That was ridiculous.
I do give them credit for finding a YouTube video that I haven't already seen. I mean, that was something.
Well,
I hadn't heard of this one.
Yeah.
I hadn't heard.
I know, and we've got the soup for that shit. I don't need to spend the $8 a month or whatever it is on HBO for someone to show me YouTube videos.
Yeah.
All right.
But you do get Game of Thrones with the deal, so come on.
You do get Game of Thrones. All right. So our last question that we want to talk about, and if anybody actually happens to be watching this, this would be a great spot to have you chime in. We've got the Q&A feature turned on, and what we would love to know is this kind of programming, the kind of things you see with John Oliver, Jon Stewart, Bill Maher, the conservative talk shows as well, is this healthy for our political discourse? And I'm wondering what you folks think about that. We don't have any questions at the moment, but what do you two think?
Personally, I think yes. I think it's something that we really need in our political discourse. America has gotten this self-righteous attitude that we are just better than everyone else, and what we do is completely separate from the rest of the world, and none of that matters. I think we need to be on the same page as the rest of the world. I think we need to be part of a global community, and I think John Oliver is sort of pushing that idea.
Okay, but we are part of a global community because we're the leader of a global community in that we're better than the global community.
I hope you're being sarcastic. Please tell me you
are you not American? We have, like, along with John Oliver, all these fucking foreigners infiltrating my American space.
Now I know you're being sarcastic.
No. I agree with everything you just said. I think it's really important to have this space too. The only reason that I'm ever concerned is this is like the majority of how I consume news. And so I feel like the reason it's great is because it provides a great counterbalance to all of that overblown rhetoric and everything you were just talking about, and like cable news, which is very untrustworthy in my opinion. But like, I wonder how many people my age are there who watch the Jon Stewart Show and the Colbert Report and like read like Gawker, which is not a political website, and that's how they like learn about the world. And that troubles me a little bit, but I don't know. Colin, what do you think?
Well, and that's what I wanted to follow up with both of you. I think it's fine. I think that this kind of content is fine. I don't think we need to guard ourselves against it right now necessarily, but there are two things. One is the political echo chamber that you hear people talk about, where now there's so much of this kind of shit on both the conservative and the liberal side in America that you can insulate yourself in this cocoon of people who agree with you politically. They cover the news, but in a way that you agree with. So you want to hear Republicans get skewered or lambasted on national TV and made fun of, and you can just watch programming and read pseudo-news online that supports that. Or if you want to be conservative, you have to go back to the fucking 1970s, get in your car and turn on talk radio. And you...
Did you lose him too?
Am I frozen?
Nope, Colin is.
Colin, sadly you got cut off, man. I could tell you were leading somewhere great, though. I agree with everything you're saying.
I do as well, and I wish there were more outlets that were completely middle. I guess we will... Colin, are you back?
Am I back?
Are you back?
I'm back. All right. I didn't know I was gone.
We were gone for a brief moment, but we made it through.
We did. We did.
All right. The last thing I want to say is, Elizabeth, you made my point that Jon Stewart gets asked regularly, what do you think about... Is this okay if this is the only place that people get their news? And he says, no, but there's no way that this is the only place that this is where young people are getting their news. And you just fucking wrecked his argument for him.
He is that naive.
No,
he has to say that. He has to say that when he's getting interviewed.
I look at the homepage of the New York Times, some articles on the Atlantic, and like occasionally I watch the Colbert Report. No, you know what? Not
anymore, you don't.
I listen to NPR, so fuck all y'all. I'm very informed.
Liberal media, jeez.
Right. I know.
So, all right, yeah. So I guess for my the short version to my answer to that is, I think this programming's fine. I do actually think there's too much of it, though. I think America's very much focused on the infotainment, and it has kind of infected our journalism. The Correspondents' Dinner being a great example of that.
Yeah.
So, all right. And we have no questions. Did either of you want to wrap up anything on that?
I think I said everything I needed to say.
All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to wrap up this program with a brief review from each of us about whether or not you should waste your time watching this shit. So, Steve, do you want to give us your review first?
I think you just gave your review, jeez. So, I actually really like it. I think it's got something to say. I do think it's coming into a crowded environment. However, I actually like it better than some of the staples of that environment. I prefer it over The Daily Show, that I think has gotten too much humor and too little substance at this point. I prefer it over the Colbert Report, and I think it's different enough from something like Real Time that it can stand on its own. I give it a solid fuck yeah.
Nice.
Elizabeth, do you have a review?
Well, so to be honest, like, I can't see myself watching